am the official diplomatic representative of Liberland in UAE and the President's Special Envoy to Dubai. My name is Yakubovsky. Today I'd like to talk to you about an idea that I was first interested in at the ripe age of 13. So I grew up in Toronto, Canada. From age 13, I come from you could say, not a very wealthy family, let's just say, frankly. And from age 13, I had a dream. I wanted to become wealthy, and I didn't know how to do that. And that's normally not a preoccupation of a 13-year-old, but it certainly was for me. And what I realized I need to do is to learn ideas of the wealthy, and that way I thought you could become wealthy. And so from age 13, I was learning voraciously about how wealthy people think. What do they do? How do they invest? What are the new ideas? And that journey took me, so it's been, well, I'm, let's say, more than 50 now, so it's been basically 40 years of learning about how wealthy people think and how to build wealth. And today I'd like to discuss new ideas. Yes, of course, along the way I learned how wealthy people think, how they build enterprises, how they become successful, and had a pretty amazing journey over the last 35 years and running a very large fund that I started in 2019, and very blessed to be able to do what I do. Thanks to my company that I started in 2019, I actually have access to very wealthy people, because the only clients that can invest with us are millionaires. And so I am very privileged that I actually can learn firsthand from many, many hundreds of millionaires around the world. And so so when I say I have new ideas to discuss with regards to what wealthy people are doing, I actually have literally firsthand access to bright entrepreneurs and millionaires from around the world that we can all learn from. And the interesting idea that emerged in the thinking of how the wealthy, so in other words, I'm not just speaking from my experience, I'm speaking from experience of hundreds and hundreds of wealthy people whose money we're privileged to manage. We were actually the #1 performing fund in the world. We delivered 311%, for example, in 2023 to our investors. So just to give you some perspective, so I'm learning from this wonderful group of people about what is important to them. And one idea that emerged especially since COVID, is the idea of optionality and special kind of insurance. So we all have, optionality means having different options in life, having the ability to send your kids to a school in another country, giving better options to our kids than the options we had when we grew up. So the idea of optionality resonates very well with the wealthy of the world. And the new idea, like I said, that emerged in the last few years, especially since COVID times, was a special kind of insurance. And you all know car insurance, health insurance, home insurance, and there's a new kind of insurance that for the first time became very, very, like a daily topic of conversations among the wealthy. And that is the residency and citizenship insurance. And yes, not very many people were discussing it. Certainly the very wealthiest were always discussing it. That's why there are programs all over the world that specifically address that. They're called CBI programs, Citizenship by Investment programs, Residency by Investment, and that's where you give a donation to the government. For example, in the Caribbean, you can give $100,000 US dollar donation and you can become a citizen. It's significantly more for a family. It's $200,000 or more. You give donation to the government, usually for infrastructure. The government is able to benefit this and you get a passport. So these programs have existed for decades, but these programs became incredibly popular during COVID times. And the reason for it is very simple. Look at what Australia did to its own citizens. They couldn't enter for a long time their own country. I'm Canadian, I grew up in Canada. I literally couldn't visit my parents during COVID because even as a Canadian citizen, there were many restrictions that I just couldn't overcome. And so this idea of optionality and special kind of insurance really resonated with the wealthy of the world. And so literally, all the wealthy families around the world are discussing it and openly pursuing it. Residency programs in Europe, for example, there's one in Malta, it costs $1.2 million. There is a residency program in Portugal, which costs $500,000. Like I said, CBI programs in the Caribbean that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And there is one in Singapore, and that's actually a very interesting example because Liberland is called the libertarian version of Singapore of Europe. So Singapore is actually a very good example. Singapore was basically nothing in 1965. It was basically a mosquito-infested village. 1965, not very far away, and indeed it was a very poor country. And started growing very rapidly, started basically from nothing. Like I said, it was basically a village, but they were governed by very important principles. Free markets, very little government interference, and that's the ideas that actually inspired, some of the ideas that inspired the formation of Liberland. And if you were so forward thinking that in 1970s and 80s, it would be actually very easy to obtain a Singapore passport. It was easily available. You could just come, settle, get it fairly quickly. So if you did this in 1970s and 60s and even early 80s, people would call you a genius today. And the reason why is because in order to get a Singapore passport today, you need to spend $2 million. You need to donate, give to the Singapore economy $2 million, so invest $2 million, and after years, you will get a Singapore passport, and you'd have to give up all your other passports. So it comes with a lot of caveats. In other words, doing this in 70s and 80s would have been a very good idea. Today, it's very difficult to do. And today, there is one country where you can do this and get yourself basically citizenship and residency insurance. That country is the Singapore of Europe. It's Liberland. Liberland today has, thank you. Liberland today has two programs. We've had the Citizenship by Investment program for a while, and that's a donation to the government for infrastructure. It's actually relative to CBI programs, it's very reasonable. Normally, citizenship and residency programs run in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. The donation at this point, it will definitely rise in the future substantially, but at this point, it starts at $10,000 US. It's a donation to the government, and for that, you can build a plot of land, you can get the Liberland merits. So there are lots of benefits for that. The $10,000 donation comes with, I believe, 50 square meter plot. So in other words, 500. Is it 500? Okay, I apologize. And so the idea is that today this opportunity exists, and we have two different programs available. The first one is the regular citizenship program, where it's a donation to the government, and after a KYC and approval, you get a passport with all the benefits that any other country gives to its citizens, and a passport basically of a place that will be the Singapore of Europe. Like I said, just think of being smart enough to get the Singapore citizenship in the 1970s. That's the equivalent of where we are today. That's the first type of citizenship program we have. And the second one is called the honorary citizenship program. And the honorary citizenship program we launched in India last year. I was there in New Delhi, and we're going to actually see a video that we did after that launch from Indian television. We'll see that shortly. And you will understand why it's an important idea, because some countries do not recognize dual citizenship. And this is a problem, so you'd have to give up one citizenship in order to get another one. And when I did some research, I realized this affected 56% of the world. In other words, most of the world does not recognize dual citizenships. It's not just India, it's China, it's Japan, it's Saudi Arabia, Pakistan only recognizes very few, etc. So this is a big problem, and we have solved that problem. The honorary citizenship program gives exactly the same rights as any other citizen of Liberland, except because it's an honorary citizenship program, it doesn't violate any of the rules of the countries that do not allow dual citizenship. And when you're ready to give up your initial citizenship, for example, many Indians come to Canada, my homeland, if you will, although my home is really Dubai now, but come to India, so Indians come to Canada, and they're able to give up their Indian citizenship, become Canadian citizen, and at that point, the government of Liberland will upgrade your citizenship at absolutely no charge from honorary citizenship to the regular citizenship. In other words, you already have from day one all the benefits of citizenship in Liberland, but none of the minuses. And when you're ready to give up your initial citizenship that prevents you from getting your dual citizenship, you can change, you can get from the honorary passport to the regular one. And that program we unveiled in India, but the fact is it's available for any citizens. And so my invitation for you all today, think about optionality, think about this new kind of insurance that every wealthy family already is either working on or in the process of working on. Everyone has on their tables forms, for application for citizenship. There is a KYC process involved, and if you fill that out and give it to our team, I represent Liberland in UAE, you can give it to me, you can give it to any of my staff, to Shabir and we will process the forms. Everything is processed by our head office in Europe, within a few weeks, we will welcome you. We look forward to welcoming you as the citizen of Liberland or the honorary citizen of Liberland. And I thank you very much for your time. And once again, thank you so much for coming.